So, welcome back. During today's demonstration, we are going to learn how we can create SQL Server. Along with creation of the SQL Server, we'll also see how we can connect the newly created SQL Server with the help of SQL Server Management Studio. To start working with SQL Server, one thing which has to be understood clearly that SQL Server belongs to Azure Platform as a service model. So most of the things here in this case will be managed by Microsoft itself. Let's go ahead and create a SQL Server. To create the SQL Server, on the left pane search for SQL Servers and then click on SQL Servers. Let's go ahead and add a new SQL Server. Because before creating any SQL database, you need a SQL Server to hold that database. Because this SQL Server will provide the option on how to connect to this and how we can change the configuration of this during the later phases. Let's go ahead and provide the name to this. Let's give it a name as Demo DB 2017. Hopefully it's available. So let's provide the login credential for this database. Let's verify the credential because this is the username and password which we'll use to access this database from SQL Server Management Studio. As always, you can choose the existing resource group or you can go ahead and create a new one. For this demonstration, let's go ahead and create a new one. Let's name it as Demo 2017 RG. Let the Southeast Asia be selected. Go ahead and click on Create. This should initiate the provisioning of SQL Server, which is nothing but a logical container on which my SQL database will reside. And with this, we'll have an option on how to connect to this SQL Server. Let's refresh this and see if that is available. It takes a couple of minutes to reflect it here. Okay, so once we have our SQL database server created, we can see them under the SQL Server section. Now, the next operation which you have to perform is to create a database and associate that database to this SQL Server. And to create that, we have to go to the More Services and search for SQL database. So if you see, there we have the SQL databases. Remember one thing, SQL servers are different thing than SQL databases. SQL databases are going to be associated to the SQL server, and that is how the connectivity of this SQL database will be handled. Let's go ahead and add a new database here. Let's provide it a name for this database. Let's give it Demo 2017 DB. We're going to use the existing resource group which we have just created. That is Demo 2017 RG. On the select source section, we can select the blank database and later on migrate our existing databases to this, or we can go ahead and choose something from the backup which we already have. But for our demonstration purpose, let's go ahead and select the sample database, which will be adventure work. I think every developer would have used this database in the past, so that is what we are going to select here. Now, as I said, it will have this dependency on the servers. If you haven't created that already, it will prompt you to create a new one. Because we have already gone ahead and created that for us, this is what we are going to select as part of our database server. We are not going to use any elastic pool concept here, so let that be not now. On the pricing tier, that is where you will get the recommended performance or the performance which you need. Based on your requirement, go ahead and select the appropriate tier. For our purposes, I'm going to select the standard S0, but if you have more requirement based on what size of database you're looking at and what DTUs you're looking at, you can go ahead in the premium tier as well. Remember, DTU is a unit with the help of which Microsoft has started computing the power of this database, that actually translate as database transaction unit. It's a combination of quite a few other metrics with the help of which Microsoft determines what is the power of your database. If you're going to select S0 for our purposes, let's go ahead and click on select. Once everything's selected, go ahead and click on create. This will start the validation process. Once validation is successful, it will initiate the provisioning of these resources. It took a couple of minutes to reflect the SQL databases under this section, but once it's created, you can see that this database status is online and this database is associated with the server which you have already created. So under this demonstration, we have learned how to create a SQL database and attach that SQL database to appropriate server.